As of today, I'm talking to you from Trafalgar Square, London, and in this video, I'm going to show you a Black Lives Matter protest which is about to do its round around Trafalgar Square in a minute or two. And since I'm here, also to reintroduce you to Henry Havelock, the guy who defeated the Indian forces in the 1857 War of Independence and was a great tormentor of men and a looter par excellence. A bit about him I'll try and talk about in this video, and secondly I will show you the Black Lives Matter protest shortly. So as we've seen in the Black Lives protest issue, which has tried to fight against racism, especially in the past few weeks, the figure of Winston Churchill, the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, who won them the war in a lot of ways around 1945, that man, Sir Winston Churchill, today his statue and indeed his stature is largely under question. The same questions which have been raised by the Black Lives Movement matter have come and now beginning to haunt another Churchillian individual, albeit from the 19th century. This individual is not too far away from the Churchillian statue outside the Houses of Parliament. The statue of Sir Henry Havelock here is at Trafalgar Square, from where I'm speaking to you. Well, so what Churchill was to the mid-20th century, or indeed the whole of the 20th century, a figure of courage, a figure of tact, a figure of nationalism, a defender of empire, a champion of the European thought. The same set of values were also endowed upon a Churchillian gentleman, and he was around the mid of the 19th century. In fact, Havelock is the man who fought off the Indian War of Independence in 1857 and actually brought relief to the people of Lucknow and Kanpur by killing in excess of 10,000 native Indian men. This Churchill of the 19th century, Sir Henry Havelock, had also fought in imperial wars in Afghanistan and Burma. And what's very interesting about him is that when in the 19th century, 1857 revolt or War of Independence came from the North Indian end, Havelock came to rescue not a nation, because India was not being run by the United Kingdom in 1857. It was run by a corporate, a company, the East India Company. So the sovereign powers of the British Crown so seamlessly and wonderfully went and supported corporate loot. In fact, that corporate loot which was kicked out in the War of Independence in 1857 was actually restored by Henry Havelock. So in my opinion, in my humble submission, Havelock didn't even fight for the British Crown per se. He fought for a British company run by private individuals. And for him to have slain so many men, for a company to enjoy such a pride of place in Trafalgar Square, which I could give you a small look, a peep around. That's the National Gallery. So this is where Mr. Havelock stands. And what makes his position even more untenable as of now is that where he was born, the area of Sunderland, his statue there has been brandished as racist and as a looter, a parasite. And now even this statue, other civil society organizations and journalists and so on are trying to take this guy down. And Havelock stands here, he's not even boarded up like Churchill was. And one more thing, the guys who are trying to defend the views of Henry Havelock also argue that he actually acted in a different context, you see, like his times were very, very different. And surely the values of 2020 should not be cast upon his conduct in the mid-19th century. Well, I would like to understand what do we actually mean by these different times. These different times of high colonialism, that is the mid-19th century, were all about plundering resources and enslaving men and finding new labor markets and more markets to sell your stuff to under a sword. So these were the different times. And what was the fundamental story these different times told each other? Well, that fundamental story they told each other was technically what the academics call as Orientalism, which is nothing but a fundamental belief that the European thought, the European way of doing things, especially in the 18th and 19th century, were inherently superior to that of the East. They take this binary further and draw a deeper wedge between human beings and civilizations and say that material prosperity, money making ability, entrepreneurship, purview of the West, that is the colonizer, the European, and spirituality, an excessive amount of religiosity, a certain amount of laziness, decadence, being over the top in every way possible, is ascribed to the East. I mean, hopefully, and this obviously pervades across art, representation, the census, and so on. So this theme of Orientalism, which is basically nothing but that the European idea is better than the Indian idea, is at the heart of Orientalism. I mean, it has its roots in the Renaissance period and way before that. Hopefully we'll explore those themes. So yeah, so this was Henry Havelock, yet another man facing the wrath of the Black Lives Matter movement. And my submission to you is that racism is an idea which was inherent for hundreds of years across time. But this idea actually finds the incubation in the colonial context, because I genuinely feel that colonialism or imperialism is nothing but a bigger canvas racism. It's inherent in that thought. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you. You see in front of you the masses of people marching. They've been doing so for the past few weeks all around London and other parts of the United Kingdom on different days. Currently they are passing in front of Trafalgar Square, where you will see the statue of Havelock to your left, and I suppose they are going up the river and taking a turn near the Houses of Parliament. Also Macron, the French president, is over as of the current moment, so this protest takes a more political flavor. There they are in their droves. The police is trying to keep things as orderly as they can. Mind you, this is also under the statue of Nelson, which I'll try and show you later. And his conduct and beliefs are also under the scanner. And this is Henry Havelock, the guy who brought so-called relief to Lucknow by recapturing large territory of the Awadh area and restoring company rule. These are the 4 lions. You can see 2 of them in front of you. People are trying to take musical instruments, trying to have creative posters, and interestingly there are people from all income groups, from what I can tell, people from all ages, different nationalities and ethnicities, and thankfully it's happening under a peaceful atmosphere, which is one of the abiding features of British democracy.